So Ibrahim, tell me, how long have you been carrying a firearm?
So I've been carrying a firearm since I was 21. I'm now 32 years old.
So a good long time.
It's in South Africa. Yeah, 21. Um, we've got a retail business, and I'm sure in every country, more so in South Africa, a retail business, you handle cash, money, and that automatically makes you become a target. It's like kind of a bees to honey type of thing. So in our game, it's just a matter of when you're going to have an incident, and you got to be prepared. So because we are in retail, the local police, SAPS, when you're applying for a firearm, you actually put that down in your motivation, and they look at it more favorably, and that's why they allow you a firearm at 21 if you're in that line of work.
Gotcha. And man, clearly, having watched the video and narrated the video that you sent me, you clearly got it done. Have you trained a lot with your firearm?
You know, John, not much training at all. I've probably fired it once at the range when I bought it. The local store that I bought it from has an indoor shooting range, so I tested the gun, and that was it. I haven't been for any formal training in terms of more than just your normal gun competency. I haven't practiced any scenarios or anything like that. It's just, again, your videos and just having that information in your brain, even though I hadn't practiced it in theory, that info was in there, and it kind of I just acted on the info in my head.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So okay, watching the video then, obviously, so you're driving, your dad's driving, and you're in the passenger seat.
Correct.
Okay.
And yeah, dad's driving, I'm in the passenger seat.
Walk us through it.
So basically, we just left the store. It was a Saturday afternoon, so dad's driving, I'm in the passenger seat. I've got my firearm on my leg holster, which I'm carrying under my jeans on my left leg.
So an ankle holster.
And we just, leg holster. And so we chatting about the weekend, what we're going to do for Sunday, we have a round of golf or whatever. And we about 2 km from home, and this vehicle passes us on the left-hand side. Now here in South Africa, you generally on the right-hand side. So already it was a sign that it wasn't the norm. So this vehicle passed us on our left, and as they passed us, I took notice of them. I looked over my shoulder because that generally doesn't happen when people overtake on the right. And the windows were tinted, you couldn't see into the vehicle. And when he got up in front of us, I noticed that he had a registration that wasn't from this area. It was a registration from Johannesburg. So again, that was another telltale sign for me to say that it's a foreign vehicle with foreign number plates. So again, a little bit of a telltale sign. And as they pulled up in front of us and they blocked us and they jammed the road, immediately then I put everything together and I said, right, okay, I think I know what's about to happen. So I actually went down in that split second to grab my firearm. But I was too late. As you saw in the video, the minute they stopped us, they got out of the car very quickly. And they immediately, as he got out and I saw the firearm, I said, look, I'm late. I can't get my gun out now. If he sees me down here fiddling, I'm pretty sure he's going to open fire on me. So I'd rather just surrender, put my hands up. So that's exactly what I did. My attempt to get my firearm out, I put my hands up to the windshield and held both my hands up. But obviously these guys, I'm not sure they were amateurs or they were really vicious, because as soon as he lined up with me, then he opened fire, even though I had my hands up. And in that split second when he opened fire, I instinctively turned away from him. He was firing on me from the left-hand side of the vehicle, right in front of the bonnet. So I instinctively turned towards my dad in this motion. And in doing so, the bullets avoided my heart, because as I turned in this direction, that's when all the bullets struck me in my left-hand side chest area, on my side area.
Wow.
But it was just left to my heart. So if I hadn't turned, the cardiothoracic surgeon that actually inspected my wounds said if I hadn't turned, the bullets would have definitely hit me straight in my heart. I probably would have died on the spot. So again, God knows why I turned. It was just a reaction, and so I turned, and as I turned, that's when I felt all the shots hit me in my left side. So I immediately knew I had been shot. The pain, I wouldn't say it was excruciating, because obviously your adrenaline is pumping at the time. I knew I'd been shot because of the heat. The heat from the bullets was the thing that I remember the most, because he shot me pretty much point blank. He was right in front of the vehicle. It came through the front windshield, and the heat from the bullets is what I recall the most as the shooting itself. So the minute he did that, luckily Dad as well was very quick to throw the car into reverse, as you saw.
Yeah, he got out of there.
And he got out of there. And what happened was, the first 4 or 5 shots that he actually put on target, which hit me in the side, were when we were stationary, in the few seconds that we were stationary. The minute Dad hit the car into reverse and we started to get some distance from them, that's when he started to miss. Because he actually had a total of 15 rounds that the police had collected on the floor, that they had emptied a cartridge out on us. And I can send you some pictures of the vehicle. There were 2 or 3 that actually hit the roof of the vehicle and bounced off the roof. There were another 3 or 4 that was stuck in the engine bay. Basically, all of those were when he missed us, when Dad got some distance between us, because it was a downhill and his aim went off a little bit, and he was running as well towards us. So basically, Dad throwing the car into reverse saved me or him from getting any more shots get put onto us, because he got the distance between us. So that quick thinking of Dad reversing, it was a great combination of Dad and myself in allowing us to survive that situation, and obviously as well, through the grace of God.
Amen.
So the minute Dad got some distance going, unfortunately now, as you saw, in the haste to get back, the car got caught up on the curb, and we rolled. So now, as we rolled, now a million thoughts are going through my head at this point in time, as you can imagine. My family, life, is this how it's going to end? Sure. I mean, you can imagine what's going through my head. And at this point, now I'm in a lot of pain because 2 of my ribs had been broken by the bullet. So now I'm in a lot of pain during breathing. So a million things are rushing through my head at this point in time, but the one thing that's at the front of my thoughts is get your firearm out, because the last I saw, these guys were running down towards you. So the minute this car comes to a rest, these guys are going to be on you. So you've got to have your firearm out when they get to the vehicle. That's all I could think of at the time.
Now, Ibrahim, were you wearing your seatbelt? So were you stuck in your seat?
We weren't wearing our seatbelts. It was actually, if you notice in the video, it was a 1969 Datsun 300C that we were driving at the time.
Old school.
So, yeah, old school. Yeah. And, it's ironic, John, that the reason Dad chose to drive a vehicle like that every day is he said, look, guys, we're already in the limelight with regards to our business and cash handling. You don't want to be driving around in a fancy Mercedes-Benz and attract attention to yourself. And there you go. We're in a 1969.
In a 69 Datsun. Yeah, it didn't matter anyways, right?
We got it anyways. Yeah, but, we didn't have our seatbelts on at the time.
Okay.
Both our windows were open, so we could have very well been thrown out of the vehicle when the vehicle rolled, which, again, thank God didn't happen. We actually stayed in our places. I stayed on the passenger side. Dad remained in the driver's side. But the way the vehicle came to a rest on the roof, again, thank God, I was facing the perpetrator's car.
Yes.
when we came to arrest. And I was facing the direction of them running toward us when we came to a standstill on the roof. So while the vehicle was rolling, I just had this thought, get your firearm out. So just before the vehicle came to arrest, I started to pull down my jeans already, pull up my jeans rather, to get to my firearm, because I got the slim fit jeans, and that was one of the major things that I've learned from that lesson is if you're gonna carry leg, you gotta wear baggy jeans.
Yeah, it's true.
Otherwise, it's very difficult to get to your firearm. That's a major thing I learned. Well, now I carry my firearm on my hip, much closer to my hands, which is that's the only place to have it. I lost a lot of seconds. A lot of seconds were lost in getting the jeans up and the firearm out. And I didn't even have the firearm. I didn't have the bullet chambered, so I had to chamber the bullets. And you can imagine, in my mind, that took forever to do. I mean, I'm like, everything's moving in slow motion.
Well, especially because you'd been shot through your left arm.
Exactly. I've been shot. One of them went through my tricep, where you were touching now. One went straight through my tricep. The other three went into my torso on my left side. The one hit my left lung. The other one broke two of my ribs. And the fourth one went through my hip on the side, but that was through and through. So I was bleeding quite profusely as well at the time. There was a lot of pain coming off my left arm. And I actually had to, being right-handed, once I got the gun out, I had to cock it with my left hand, the injured hand. But I didn't actually think of it at the time. I just did it. Right. And thankfully, even though I never really shot the gun often, fired it often, I always kept it well greased, cleaned. Every week, if I'm sitting in my office and I've got a few minutes, I dismantle it, grease it up. So everything was lubed and working well.
Good.
It was a CZ75 compact. Again, I chose that gun because it's not too big and it's carryable. You don't want to choose something that looks nice, is nice and big, makes a big bang when you fire it, but inevitably is impractical to carry every day, and then that defeats the aim of having a firearm.
Well, especially if you're carrying it on your ankle, you can't carry a big full-size gun. Exactly.
So basically, it was fairly easy to cock, to chamber a round. So once I chambered the round, I had the gun in my right hand, and because my left hand was kind of out of it, all it could have done at the time was chamber the round, and then that was it. It was spent. So I turned over. At this point, these guys are approaching me from the right-hand side over my right shoulder. So as I turn, I notice the first guy that you'll see in the video gets to the car.
Yes.
And he sits down at the window. Now, obviously, he obviously assumed that we had been obviously fatally injured or whatever in the shooting and the subsequent accident. So he was brave enough to come up to the window, and he didn't expect me either to have drawn my firearm in that time. So when he got to the window, lucky for him, John, he had just got to the vehicle in the corner of my eye. He hadn't sat down right in front of me, because if he had, I would have had a clear shot point blank at his face. So he was as well. I suppose God was with him that day. It wasn't his time as well, because if he had sat down right in front of me, I probably would have had a good shot straight at him. But he sat down just over my right shoulder, and I had to take a shot at him over my right shoulder, kind of like that. Yeah. With my right hand over the back of my shoulder, where I could catch him in the corner of my eye. So it was awkward. But according to the police, they took the video, they scrubbed it up, they cleaned it a little bit. They said that I had hit that guy in his arm, in his left arm. I had hit him in the left arm. You can actually see his arm flaying back as he gets to the car. His arm flays back where I hit him. And then he runs off into the bush and he takes off. And then there were actually two guys on the video that you saw running down. The first guy that got to the car, I got rid of him. The second guy was about midway through. He was in between frames on those two cameras when I turned my attention to him. And you can actually see as I take shots out of the car, you can see the dust, the puffs of dust from the vehicle, because I was shooting now from the vehicle, from the inside of the vehicle, which gave me great cover.
But that had to be
any more gunshots.
At least a 30-meter shot.
Yeah, that was 30 meters plus. Yeah, because their car, I would say, was about 70, 80 meters away from us. That's the distance we got when we reversed. So yeah, at least 30-meter, 40-meter shot. And I had 5 shots at him. Now there again, as I'm firing, John, I'm thinking to myself, I don't have a spare magazine on me. Mm-hmm. I've only got 16 rounds in this firearm. My dad's not carrying a firearm. I don't want to expend all of my shots just firing off at this range. In case the guys come back, I'm going to be now vulnerable. We're going to be disarmed, basically. Yeah. So I had 5 shots at him. I just sent off 5 shots, and in addition to the one that I hit the first guy with, so basically I had 6 that were fired. And luckily, in one of those 5 that I hit to the second guy, I had hit him in his leg.
So, okay, wait, Ibrahim, let me... So you say you don't train much with your firearm. Hold on a second, bro. So let me, from a training perspective, set this up. You are shot 4 times. You have been in a car wreck. You just lit a round off right next to your ear, so you can't hear a thing anymore. You're laying in the headliner of your '69 Datsun.
Yeah, correct.
And you're one hand firing 5 shots at a guy who's 30 to 40 meters away from you.
Yeah.
And you hit him 1 out of 5. Bro, you're John Wick.
You know, John, I tell you what, I probably do watch too much of those kind of movies, and that's what really helped me in that situation. But, in South Africa, John, I know every country in the world has crime and stuff, but South Africa even more so. It's a really volatile country in terms of, it's not like the Wild West type of thing, but I mean, this kind of thing happens every day in South Africa. It's like a part of our lives. It's at the back of our minds every day. And even though I didn't have some sort of formal training, I've always thought to myself, what would I do in that situation? Because it was a very real possibility that would have happened. So I've actually ran through the scenario, well, not this exact scenario, but being shot at or being in a hijacking or robbery situation. I've actually ran it through my mind many times before, thinking, what would I do? And look, I'm not the type of guy. My personality is such that I don't back down from a challenge. I'm not a pushover, let's just say. So I suppose that helped me as well. The investigating police officers that came in and interviewed me at home when I got out of ICU told me that a lot of policemen in that situation would have froze, and a lot of policemen in that situation would have actually not done anything because their training doesn't allow them the practicality of being in the actual situation. It's very different being in the situation. They gave me an incident 2 weeks before my incident that occurred in a town about an hour away from us, where there was a police officer off duty having lunch with his cousin, a girl cousin of his, and the girl cousin's boyfriend was quite an aggressive guy and very protective and possessive. So he's going through town and he sees these two sitting and he doesn't know that that's her cousin. He assumes that she's having an affair with this guy. So he goes ballistic. He pulls his firearm out. He starts firing at them, both of them. So he fires at the girl first. He kills her. He hits her in the head and she falls down, spot dead. The police officer now runs to his vehicle and he hides underneath the vehicle. Now he's got a firearm on him,
right?
But he doesn't draw it. He goes in and he just freezes under his vehicle. So this guy promptly goes down, aims at him and finishes him off underneath the vehicle. And that's the end of him. So, they tell me that, when the gunshots start and stuff, a lot of people will just freeze and they don't know what to do. They get stunned. And as you say, all of those extenuating factors, again, I can't take all the credit. God is great, and why I did what I did is He only knows. But I was able to keep my my wits about me, and so basically I hit this guy, and I saw the spray. I saw the spray of blood when I hit him in the leg, because I actually had hollow point bullets in the gun. So it did a bit of damage on his leg, because the first one. Generally, what I do is I carry the first round in my magazine is a normal 9mm bullet, and then the rest of them are all hollow points after that.
Okay.
The reason I keep one in a normal bullet is, number one, if there's an accidental discharge of the firearm, it's not going to cause as much damage as a hollow point bullet would, for example. And generally, your first shot is a warning shot on the on your firearm. If you're going to shoot this a second time or third time, generally you're in danger and you need to end the threat. So that's the reason I put in hollow points in the second two onwards, right down to the bottom. So thankfully, I hit the guy in his leg with one of the hollow points, which caused a lot of damage. So he was able to limp back into his vehicle.
Yeah.
And there was a third assailant who was still in the vehicle, if you noticed, that swung the door open for him as he got to the vehicle. And then he managed to get away. So the minute I saw him getting in his vehicle, I stopped firing. I quickly assessed with Dad if he's fine. Dad didn't even know I had gotten shot. Dad wasn't aware, because from the time that I actually got shot when we were reversing to the time we got out of the car, we hadn't spoken a word to each other in that time, you can imagine. So when we eventually got out of the car, then I told Dad, look, I'm shot. And at that point in time, I coughed up a lot of blood and stuff, and my lung now was on its way to collapsing, my left lung, because the one fragment hit one of my left lung. So at this point now, the pain now really hit me like a ton of bricks. And if you notice in the video, the quality is a little bit bad, but I actually went down on my knees at that point in time, because, it's like, it's over now. These guys are now gone.
Yeah, the adrenaline dump.
Then the adrenaline kind of dropped a little bit, and then that's when it really hit me. Then the pain came in like a truck had hit me, and it took me down to my knees for a second or two. And then what I did was I put the gun on safety. I handed it over to Dad. I told him, look, be careful. There's one still chambered. It's live. So he disarmed it. And at that point in time, one of our close family friends was on his way down to go to pray at the local mosque. And he stopped immediately. He loaded us in the car. So it was seconds after we had got out of the car, he had come past, and the timing was excellent. We had got put in the car. He rushed us off to the local hospital. They did the initial x-rays and stuff for me. From there, I had to be airlifted to Pietermaritzburg, which is an hour away, because we live in a very small farm town. It's a very rural farm town that we stay in. It's not a big city, so I had to be moved up to a hospital that was a bit more jacked up.
So the car that drove by and then stopped and came back and helped you was a family friend.
It was a family friend, yeah. It was a family friend. It just worked out. It worked out so down to the second, John. Like I say, everything that happened that day was down to God. And if I rewind, John, to before the actual incident, if I tell you this, so basically we have a family business, the retail store that I told you about.
Yeah.
And it's myself, my two brothers, my mom, my dad, and my sister-in-law that work in the business daily. I'm married. I've got a wife. All my brothers are married. I've got 3 kids. My brother has 4 kids, so we're quite a big family. But on that very day in particular, it was my sister-in-law, my mom, my dad, and my 2 boots that were in the shop with me. And generally, we all travel in convoy up home in about 2 vehicles. We generally follow each other up home. And in the vehicle, generally with dad and me, it's generally my mom or my butt or my sister-in-law. So it's generally more than 2 people in one vehicle. Mm-hmm. And on that day, for some reason, my eldest brother, he decided he wants to go home early and take the kids out to the swimming pool because it was a nice day and have some fun with them in the garden. So he left about an hour from the shop on that day, which generally doesn't happen. So he was gone. Then when we leaving the store in the afternoon, I went to the store, and for some reason I didn't remember on which side of the shop he parked his vehicle, whether it was in the receiving at the back of the store or at the shop front. So he's undecided. He says, look, shit, I can't remember where I parked my vehicle today. So in that time, my younger brother says, look, Dad, I need to get home because he wanted to get into the gym. And here's the Bucky right in the front here. He says, look, I'm going to take Mom and I'm going to take my missus and I'm going to shoot up home if you guys don't mind. So we like, okay, yeah, no, sure, go for it. We just need to look for the vehicle. So I said to Dad, look, let me go with you rather. Generally, I take my mom up home, but that day I said, look, let me go with you. Because he wasn't armed as well on that day. So they get in, so the 3 of them get into the vehicle and they gone off. They were about 2 minutes ahead of us. They just got off the vehicle in our home yard when they heard all the gunshots going off. So if they had been with us, there would have been more casualties because these guys would have had 2 vehicles to fire on, a lot more people. It just worked out so well, John. Everything worked out 100%.
Wow. So did they catch the guys who did this?
So basically, the guy that I shot in the leg, he had gone up to a hospital in a rural area about an hour and a half from us for medical attention. And obviously the police had put in an APB for gunshot injuries in the area at all hospitals to be reported to them. And then it came up that he had gone to one of these hospitals. And we did actually pick the one guy up. And we got a lot of information out of him. We did a deal with him where we did some negotiating with him to say that, look, you obviously didn't work alone in this. Mm-hmm. You obviously had some information. So tell us what information you had. Why did you attack us? And we needed to get info from him. So we kind of cut a deal with him not to press any charges. I know that sounds odd, but you know what we said was we've learned so much from this experience, John. I actually wanted to thank the guy because it's done more for us, more good for us as a family in terms of life lessons, handling ourselves security-wise, security minds of how the women think at home, security consciousness all around. I actually thank the guy, and I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason in life, and you know. We took so much good off this. We actually struck up a deal with him and said, look, give us the informants that you had. And it turned out that it was some certain staff that were working for us that had given him wrong information. And you know generally how these things go. So basically, we didn't press any charges, John. We just left it like that.
So what are your biggest lessons, man? What are your takeaways?
Look, takeaways, John. Takeaways. In terms of firearm carry, I know carrying the firearm chambered is risky. It is dangerous with the safety on. I personally still feel that even after having gone through that, I don't carry my firearm chambered. I just
even
feel it's
after
too much
going
of a risk.
through that?
Even after going through that, what I've done is I've actually, as I said, I moved the firearm up to my hip now, where it's more accessible.
Good choice.
And during the volatile times, like when we're leaving the store in our vehicles, the minute I sit in the vehicle, I remove the firearm from my holster, I chamber around, and I keep the firearm on my lap in my right hand. I drive with my left hand.
Okay.
So now the lesson I've learned from that is you got to be prepared at volatile times. Look, these attacks can come at any time, but generally, when you're going down to work in the morning, when you're leaving work in the evening, and when you're getting home in the evening, are your most volatile times. There's most likely something going to happen. So at those times, I actually chamber around and I keep the firearm on my lap in my right hand, ready for action if need be. I just need to lift the firearm, release the safety, and we go. So that's the lesson I've learned from there. The other lesson I've learned is you got to be very, very aware of your surroundings. You got to be very aware of what's going on. The minute the car passed us on the left, I should have taken my firearm out and had it ready at that point in time, because it was a vehicle that was doing a maneuver on the road that was not according to the norm. Mm-hmm. B, the windows were completely tinted and you couldn't see into the vehicle. C, the number plates were a foreign vehicle, and generally in a small town like ours, you don't get foreign number plate vehicles very often. All those three factors should have actually prompted me to have drawn my firearm at that point in time and not before they stopped us. So that's another big takeaway for me, is you've got to be aware of your situation. You got to have, as you always say, situational awareness, John.
Yes,
and
yes, for sure.
acting on it is another thing, because I was aware of it happening. I was aware. I took note of it. I took note of all of those three things, but I didn't actually do anything about it. So it's situational awareness and acting on that situational awareness to actually prepare you for what you think's about to go down based on what you're seeing around you.
Yes, what a great lesson. You actually have to do something with what you see.
Exactly, yes, exactly. You may notice everything happening, but you're just a little bit too slow in preparing yourself for what you think's about to happen based off the telltale warning signs. And that's a big thing for me that I've learned from this. And John, what else? You got to be strong in your mind,
When you were shot, did you have that conscious thought that said, okay, I'm shot, but I got to stay in this fight?
Yes, most definitely. I can tell you, after having gone through that experience, the minute I got shot and the minute I was aware that I was shot, the first thing that came through my mind was my kids, my family, but most of all my children. And I was like, if this is the way that I'm gonna die, I'm not gonna sit down and get killed. I'm gonna do something about it. I have a firearm on me, and I'm gonna go out with a fight. I'm not gonna just let these guys run us over that easily. So yes, stay in the fight. Get your firearm out at all costs is what was the only thought that was going through my mind at the time. And luckily, Dad did the move he did that gave me the time. If Dad hadn't got that distance between us, I wouldn't have had the time to draw my firearm out. So again, the car actually rolling was actually a blessing as well, because it gave me the time to draw my firearm out, because these guys were onto us too quickly at the top of the hill. So, it was a combination of Dad's quick thinking and getting out of there, and then my subsequent drawing my firearm that led to us walking away from that, John. And, Dad didn't have a scratch on him, thankfully.
Wow.
I've still got 2 bullets in me, John, in my chest area, in my back. They couldn't remove those 2. They removed 2. And the other 2 were actually stuck in there, so we can't do much about it. But it's not in any area that's going to cause me a problem other than some discomfort and stuff.
Well, that's it. All right, thanks. So can I give you one exhortation, Ibrahim?
Yes, sure, please.
So your firearm, are you carrying it in a quality holster? Are you carrying it in either a leather or a Kydex holster?
Yes, I'm carrying it in a leather holster, a very comfortable leather holster, yeah.
Good. Does that leather holster completely cover the trigger guard when it's holstered?
It's completely covered. It's Good. Completely covered.
So my one encouragement to you is that when you draw that firearm, when you sit down and you chamber it and put it on your lap, that's the most dangerous time for you to be hurt with that firearm or a family member.
Exactly.
It's actually far safer for you, because that gun will not go off in its holster. The trigger has to be pulled. So therefore, from a logical perspective, what I would encourage you to do, chamber the gun and put it in the holster in the morning and then leave it there. Because it won't go off until you draw it and pull the trigger. But then that way you don't have to, when you get in the car, you don't have to chamber it, because that's when you're most likely to have a problem.
Of course. Accidental discharge. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that'll minimize that risk and still keep you safe all day, as long as you don't put the gun down. If you take the gun off while you're in the shop, or if you're at home or something, unchamber the firearm when you take it off.
Of course.
But when you put it on, make sure it's pointed in a safe direction, chamber that gun, put the gun in your holster, and then leave it there until you need it.
Okay, brilliant. Right. No, that's a great piece of advice, John. I appreciate it. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's going to be a much safer method in future. Awesome.
Ibrahim, man, this has been incredibly enlightening, my friend, and I think it's going to help a lot of people to see what the realities are. And man, you said that you've been watching active self-protection for a number of years.
Yes, yeah.
And you feel like it helped you survive.
It had. And I want you to mention that, John, because, I really would encourage people to watch your videos, because there's nothing like it out there on the net. There's a lot of videos showing these things happening, but nothing the way you do it with your commentary and then giving the lessons on it. And it's purely because of the videos that I had the ability, and Dad as well. My dad as well watched your videos a lot. In fact, he put me onto your videos. He sent me a link the one day, and he says, have a look at this channel that I found. It's very interesting. Get your brothers to watch it as well. And Dad actually put me onto it, and Dad as well. The reaction of him trying to get some distance and stuff was all probably because of watching your videos and get your distance when you get a threat and stuff. So, John, that's why I said I really got to get in touch with you and personally give you a thank you, to say, you're doing a great job on your channel, and you're saving a lot of lives out there. You're doing a lot of good that you probably don't even realize worldwide, John.